Let's go live to Sydney. The Assistant Treasurer, Stephen Jones, joins me. You gave a speech today to the National Consumer Congress. I'm wondering, because you talk about, in this speech I've been reading this afternoon, strong consumer protections. I wonder, how do you reflect on the current situation we're seeing with the energy market? Do you feel that some of these providers are gaming the system, are gouging in the context of what is a vulnerable situation right now?
Look, I'm never one to want to let off businesses who are doing the wrong thing, but I think the core of this problem is a decade-long policy argument that hasn't been resolved, the former government not being able to land a policy and therefore business doing the only sensible thing under the circumstances and saying, well, we're not going to invest our money if we don't know what the rules of the game are. That is what lies at the heart of the consumer crisis in energy at the moment. But my point is this on consumer policy at large. For a party that talks so much about economic reform and economic management, they did so little about it and they understood so little about it. And we see consumer policy as core economic reform and core microeconomic reform, because empowered consumers make efficient markets, good products make productive workplaces, and safe workplaces, and we want to ensure that we lift up the consumer area of economic policy and microeconomic reform, because the previous government, as in energy policy, did nothing on it for over a decade, and there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, it is an interesting argument, and sort of the microeconomic reform driving the productivity and hence the overall sort of wellness of the economy. But right now we've got the minimum wage boost yesterday, inflationary pressures more broadly. Are you worried about where all this is headed right now, amid fears among some that a recession is likely?
Look, the signs from overseas aren't good. At the moment in Australia, the fundamentals are still, the underlying fundamentals are strong. We've got strong employment and those employment figures holding steady, not necessarily flowing into wage rises at the moment, but we'd like to see that because cost of living is pressing in upon households. Most of our inflationary pressures aren't being driven from the labour market because wages simply aren't moving at that rate. Most of our inflationary pressures are being imported from overseas, from our product markets. You talk to anyone in the building game, they see their costs going up by 20%, 30% over a quarter because of the cost of building materials, whether it's energy or building materials or everything else that's flowing through to every other part of the market, then being knocked for six by severe weather events, putting pressure on food prices. These are the causes. So not so much wage rises, but all of these other effects is what is driving the spike in inflation and cost of living at the moment. And that's why I'm not worried about, the government's not worried about. In fact, we need to see wages moving because for over a decade, workers' wages have been going backwards. Less money in their wallet means less money going into local businesses, across the counter of shops and in the tills, in pubs, in restaurants and everywhere else around the country.
To go back to where we started on that energy crisis, what's your read on this? Obviously, it's a short-term measure, quite unprecedented to have AEMO intervene in the wholesale market. How do you get through that period without us getting to, say, less demand in spring or something? I mean, how do you hit an equilibrium in there?
Look, what happened in the last 48 hours was ensuring things don't go backwards from an already pretty bad situation. So AEMO stepping in to prevent energy generators from exiting the market, absolutely critical. Their costs are going up along with the costs of energy inputs at the moment as well. So ensuring that we had stabilising of our energy generation, absolutely critical, while we work on some of these longer term solutions, getting more gas into the market, ensuring that we get more renewables into the market and improving the game on storage. Not one silver bullet, and I know you know this, Kieran, there's not one silver bullet here, and anyone who says, oh, the answer to this is let's just build another coal-fired power station, well, that's nuts. You're not going to be able to do that. It won't be run on coal, it'll be run on subsidies, and it wouldn't generate another watt of electricity for another 5 years at least. We've got a crisis now. We've got to manage our way through it by trying to keep a lid on energy price rises, the input price rises, ensuring that we've got a supply of gas, of affordable coal, and working on those medium-term solutions through transmission and storage.
Stephen Jones, I very much appreciate your time as always. Assistant Treasurer Stephen Jones, thank you.